Well, I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't expect a much beloved and long lost action RPG to be randomly announced at the end of August in a showcase that I had never heard of, but here we are. Hey friends, it's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and we're talking about Terranigma, y'all. Terra-freaking-nigma. It's back. I can't believe it. It's crazy to me that we are getting a release of Terranigma on modern consoles. It's insane. Now, to temper expectations, if you haven't already seen Pixel Arcadia, which was the showcase over in the UK, I believe. It's in the UK. It's in Europe somewhere. UK isn't in Europe, though, is it? They left. It was the Brexit thing. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Over there, across the pond, they have a showcase, Pixel Arcadia, and they were showing off a whole bunch of cool, like, retro and retro-inspired sorts of games that are coming out on modern platforms over the next year or so. And Terranigma was the game they opened with. This was also the game they teased when they were announcing Pixel Arcadia, the showcase. They teased it, and everybody got really excited. I definitely did. I think, at a certain point, I will have to admit that, like, I was kind of hoping that they would do a little bit more with it. They're using the term remaster, I believe they threw that term out there at least once. It doesn't really look like a remaster in the sense that we're used to seeing with, like, up-res graphics. I'm sure they've done something to make it look better on an HD TV, because these were built with CRTs in mind, a 16-bit game from the Super NES, it was the Super Nintendo, because it came out in Europe. This is a game, I've kind of buried the lead, in case you're not familiar. Terranigma is from Quintet, one of the premier 16-bit action RPG developers, and it's the only game in their trilogy of games, including Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia, that we didn't get in the United States and Canada. It only came out in Europe. It came out in England. They had it, and we didn't. And I've always said, you know what, it fair's fair. We got a lot of games that they didn't get over there. I don't think they got Chrono Trigger. Like, you know what I mean? They missed out on a lot of bangers. They get Terranigma, that's fair. But, like, now, it's been like 30 years. It's time that everybody gets a fair shot at owning Terranigma. So we're actually getting it officially. Now, like I said, they're calling this a remaster. I don't know. It doesn't look necessarily better. I don't even think that it's going to be widescreen. The screenshots definitely look like the standard 4:3 old school TV resolution. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. They didn't show a ton in the showcase. They are going to be showing more of the game, like a working build, it sounds like, at Gamescom, which is in Germany. That's happening this week. So later this week, they're going to be showing people demonstrations. Maybe you can play it. I think they could play it even of the game over there. It's coming out in 2027, so they still have some time. I don't know if they're going to be using that time to add more features to it. They didn't really talk about anything in terms of quality of life. Really, the only thing that they mentioned is that Clear River Games, who is producing this, sounds like, is working with members of the original dev team in some capacity to add some things to the game. Like, I guess the composers have come back and they're going to have a selection of tracks that they're going to be doing arranged versions of. They had the designer come back and create some new key art. I'm hopeful that they're going to do more. I would love to see, I don't know, like, there's something beautiful about the original pixel aesthetic, so I wouldn't want to lose that. I would love a mode that maybe you could toggle back and forth between something a little richer, more hand-drawn. They would have probably shown that in this showcase if that was something they were planning, or at least teased it, but they didn't, so I'm sure that's not the case. But I hope that there's a little bit more. Honestly, like, the number one thing that I would like to see is a revamped localization, because the localization on Terranigma for the European release was terrible, just like awful, almost unreadable, terrible. And it would not fly. It would not fly in 2027 when this game comes out. So I'm expecting / hoping that they give us a better localization. Honestly, yeah, I was hoping for more, but I'm just stoked that this is actually happening. We're actually getting Terranigma. It's finally starting to feel like the universe is righting its wrongs. We got Live Alive a few years ago, which was crazy that we never thought we were going to get that. We got Trials of Mana. Never thought we were going to get that either. And now we got Terranigma. Some of the biggest heavy hitters that never reached our shores are finally showing up, and that is worth celebrating, I think. This was a big showcase. There were a ton of games. I didn't want to talk about everything because for y'all that are into JRPGs, and for me, like there weren't a ton. There are a handful of games that I think probably would appeal. At least they appealed to me, so that if you're similar in taste to me, they might appeal to you too. So I just wanted to talk about those briefly, if you don't mind. Shall we? Pedal Runner was the first game after Terranigma that I thought looked like it might be up my alley. They called it like a slice of life game, but it's got like a Game Boy Color aesthetic, which I'll admit is not my personal preferred aesthetic. I didn't grow up with the Game Boy Color. I stopped on the traditional Game Boy, and I didn't even play my Game Boy that much, to be honest. But it looks cool, it looks interesting, and it seems like kind of an adventure game. It doesn't look like it has combat in the sense that we're used to. But it has like kind of JRPG design sensibilities, but like in an adventure game sort of deal. And they promise an emotional story. So I'm there for that. I'm really curious to see what this is and where it goes. Got a cute little animal companion. Who doesn't love that? I do. I've got a cute little animal companion. I got 2 of them upstairs, and they're being quiet right now. And I'm very appreciative of that. I think they know that I'm recording, and I'm grateful. I'm going to go give them a treat. I'm going to give them a bone later. That's what I'm going to do, because they're being good dogs. Roguecraft DX. I'll admit, I put this one on the list. It's not really for me. I just think that there's probably a decent amount of crossover for people that like JRPGs and also like roguelikes or roguelites. I've never been super clear on the difference between a like and a light. Maybe you know the difference. If you know the difference, can you let me know in the comments? Because I feel like every time I look it up, I get conflicting information, and I want to hear it definitively from you. Tell me, what does it mean? Please help me. So if you like roguelites or roguelikes, does this game appeal to you? It's got a kind of a cool, like old school pixel aesthetic, and it's not unappealing in terms of its visuals. I know that the kind of tile by tile movement, sort of traditional rogue sort of thing, isn't my cup of tea. So I'll be curious if people that are into that sort of thing think that this looks appealing. So let us know in the comments if you think people that are into that sort of thing will be into this. Sanitarium is one that I always heard about growing up. Like, I was aware of its existence, but I grew up in a really like religious household, and I could get away with buying some games for like my Super Nintendo or PlayStation, mostly PlayStation, to be honest, that were a little iffy, seemed a little dark, because my parents weren't paying attention to those. But if it was on the computer, like, they were going to see it. So I never would have been able to get the game Sanitarium on the PC back in the day. But they're bringing this back, like remastering the classic Sanitarium. And I always loved these types of games. Like, I wasn't able to play this one. Like story-focused, puzzle-based adventure games, point-and-click kind of deal. So personally, I'm kind of interested in checking this one out, just from like the missed nostalgia. What's a good term for that? Like something that you're nostalgic for that you didn't actually experience, but it feels like you're nostalgic for it. Whatever that is. What should that be called? Let me know what that should be called. I think that there should be, if there's not already a term for it, we need one. Because I experience that feeling a lot. I don't know if it's just middle age, but it happens a lot. Oh, so I've seen, the next one that I want to talk about is the Transylvania Adventure of Simon Quest, which is a very funny name. I saw somebody play through the demo of this game on YouTube. I can't remember who it was right now, sorry. But it looks great. Like, it's a straight up parody of Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. And I think it looks hilarious and great. It doesn't even look hilarious. Like, it plays like a hardcore Castlevania game. I'm sure the storyline is where it's funny. Like, the actual gameplay looks straight up and down Castlevania, but with better movement. You seem much more agile than Simon from Castlevania has ever looked. But this one actually looks pretty cool, and I'm trying to open my mind and my heart a little bit more to Metroidvanias, because I don't know, I feel like I've kind of written a lot of them off, because we did get kind of flooded with a lot of them, and I had several in a row that I just didn't connect with. But I've connected really well with some Metroidvanias over the years, and I want to start making myself open to those experiences again. So I put a couple, at least 2 or 3 Metroidvanias from this showcase in this video. I'm curious. I'm definitely going to check out this one because I just love the idea of a parody of Castlevania, and also just video games getting parodies. Like, it's interesting that the art form of video game has been around long enough now that we are getting like parodies of games, and I think that's great. That's like a sign of the maturity of the art form. Speaking of Metroidvanias, this was the first, other than the last one we just talked about, really caught my eye as like, okay, this is actually definitely really up my alley. Silent Planet, Elegy of a Dying World. Points off for basically using the word planet twice. Synonyms, right? Planet and world. I feel like that's a little bit sloppy. I would call it just Elegy of a Dying Planet or something like that. I don't know. But we got to do the colon double name thing. But it's dark, it's science fiction, it's a Metroidvania. It's got really cool art design, like the character designs they showed a brief like character portrait sort of thing. Like that art design, and the pixel art is just beautiful, great animation, beautiful artwork. And it's got that dark kind of gothic horror mixed with sci-fi, which is kind of cool. So I'm definitely interested in checking that one out. The other sort of Metroidvania is Cathedral Crow's Curse. This one reminded me a lot more of Hollow Knight. I'll admit I'm less positive about Hollow Knight than I think everybody else is. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in when it comes to that type of game. I tried a couple times really hard to get into Hollow Knight, and I just couldn't stick with it. This one kind of reminds me of that, so I don't know how positive I feel about this one, but maybe I'll check it out. We'll see how it reviews, and we'll take a look. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Cathedral Crow's Curse. Does this look good? Let me know. Infested DX. So this is a remake of like an 8-bit style game that was in the vein of Shadowgate and Deja Vu and Uninvited. Those like classic Mac adventure games that they ported to the NES back in the day. I loved Shadowgate and I loved Deja Vu. Like I got nowhere in those games as a kid, guys. Like I really tried and I could not figure them out. I didn't have the strategy guides. Obviously the internet didn't exist, but I still loved them. They just did something to my imagination that most games couldn't do. And the idea of a new one that's like a kind of a creepy, gory sci-fi Shadowgate, that seems pretty cool. So I'm into it. I'm gonna check it out. So the last one I want to talk about is Dungeon Lurkers. Some positive things to say. It's got cool pixel art. I like that it's like an action RPG kind of deal. The first thing that I saw that bugged me, of course, is the sprites don't animate right. Like the walk cycle is really weird. For one thing, don't love that walk cycle. I could do without seeing that walk cycle for an entire game. And your character is only ever facing one direction. So like walking back or up diagonally or whatever, you're like always facing out. I hate that. I hate that. I get that they're focusing on action just to the right or left of you. They're not looking to do combat in that way, but I just don't. It's personal preference. But there was something there that I still was kind of like, okay, I'm like sort of interested. I don't know how to put my finger on it exactly, but I'm sort of maybe, possibly interested. We'll see. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one. All in all, guys, like this was a cool showcase. For being something that I didn't know existed 2 days ago, to getting a re-release of Terranigma in some form, to, potentially a bunch of really cool games. Like there's other games that I think look cool in that showcase, which I'll link to the showcase in the description, so you can go check it out if you missed it. But like there's other games in there that I think are cool. I just don't think they're necessarily pertinent to my channel right now. But definitely check it out. Let me know what game or games looked the best to you. I think for me, obviously Terranigma, but setting Terranigma aside, I think Pedal Runner is probably number one, just as having caught my interest. Number two, well, it's a tight race between Pedal Runner and Silent Planet, Elegy of a Dying World. That actually looks really good too. So those are probably tied for first place after Terranigma as far as having my interest. So let me know which ones interest you the most and which ones you think that I overlooked in the showcase that I should be paying attention to. And we can talk about it down in the comments. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, for hanging out, for liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.